Hey, what's going on, Z Nation? Zaid here, ZSPN, and today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and the buyout market. And I want to give you guys my top five top buyout contenders when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers and their interest in filling up the two roster spots that are already open for the Los Angeles Lakers. And there's been a couple of scenarios that the Lakers are looking at when it comes to improving their roster and, of course, putting in those two potential buyout contenders in that two roster spots that they have open for their scenario of just filling up the roster. And before anything, guys, please make sure to like my videos and subscribe to the channel. Share my videos all over Facebook, Twitter, all the good social media stuff. I'll leave the links to my social media sites in the description of this video so you guys can check out my social media sites and, of course, subscribe to the channel. So, to recap, the Lakers didn't do anything in the trade deadline, and obviously it was predicted from most of the reports that have been out there that the Lakers were not going to be active in the trade deadline, and as a result, they are now looking at the buyout market as the top priority for them to fill up their roster and potentially to find LeBron and Anthony Davis some help so they can have a huge momentum going into the playoffs. And there has been a couple of positions where the Lakers are looking at when it comes to improving their roster. And one of them is the center position. The second priority, in my opinion, is a 3-and-D type of player. And potentially a third option is a guard, but still remains to be seen about where is the direction of Rob Pelinka and the rest of the Lakers organization when it comes to filling up that two last roster spots. So here are my top scenarios when it comes to the Lakers pursuing a potential player in the buyout market. Number one on that list, and I believe all Laker fans, including myself and all analysts and executives have put out there when it comes to this particular player, and that is Andre Drummond. The number one priority for the Lakers is to find a center, and what better way for them to get someone who is a rebounding machine, a monster when it comes to just protecting the rim and just being a good rim protector, and that is Andre Drummond. He has been in the rumor mill for the Los Angeles Lakers for quite some time now. It has been almost like 3 months that he's been in the conversation to potentially join the Los Angeles Lakers if he was bought out by the Cleveland Cavaliers. And, as of today, he did agree to a buyout with the Cavaliers. So obviously he is now a free agent, and there has been a couple of teams that have shown a lot of interest in him. I mean, that's obvious when it comes to a player of that caliber. Potential teams like the Boston Celtics, the LA Clippers, surprisingly, the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, and I believe the Charlotte Hornets and our Los Angeles Lakers. And I believe I saw a report as of today, Andre Drummond did speak with the Boston Celtics today on Friday. And I believe the conversation or the quote was that it went very well. So the possibilities of him ending there could be a possibility, but he still is going to meet with potential teams that are interested in him, and one of them is the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the top priority, in my opinion, the number one option for the Lakers to pursue when it comes to the buyout market, and that is to go after Andre Drummond. I just believe that he will work very well with the system that we have, and he will automatically be a starter for the Los Angeles Lakers, and playing alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis will just plays huge wonders when it comes to the Lakers going into the potentially the playoffs. And we just have to see what's his choice will be for his next destination. We just have to wait for the next couple of days. So hopefully things turn out good for the Los Angeles Lakers when it comes to pursuing Andre Drummond. the other players that I had to bring up when it comes to the Lakers possibly going after these particular players for these last roster spots, and that is potentially Otto Porter Jr. The idea of him joining Los Angeles Lakers could help the Lakers boost their roster, especially coming off the bench. He is the type of guy that you can just really rely on, can average potentially like 9 to 12 points a game. It still remains to be seen if he will get bought out. I saw a report, I believe, from the Orlando Magic saying that they are potentially going to keep Otto Porter Jr. So the idea of them, releasing him is not potentially going to happen. So I'm just throwing out names here. I don't really think they could potentially get bought out, but just judging by what I'm seeing in the reports, and the Lakers, they want Porter Jr. So the idea of him, getting bought out and potentially could be a destination for the Los Angeles Lakers could potentially work out. But just putting out that particular name, I don't know why I brought him up, but it's just the idea of the Lakers pursuing him is just puts into question of a possibility. But that's my second option. But if I had to replace Otto Porter Jr., I had to say Avery Bradley would be a 3-and-D type of scenario that the Lakers could pursue. And we already know we're so familiar with Avery Bradley. He played with the Los Angeles Lakers last season, and he's been a huge help when it comes to defensively, and for a guy who can shoot as well. I believe he shot like 35 or 36% from the three. I mean, it's just an average type of scoring from a particular player like him. So the idea of the Lakers pursuing him could potentially work out, but still remains to be seen about that. And judging by what I've been seeing in the reports, he's getting a lot of interest from certain teams like the Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets, and I believe also the Miami Heat. But no, actually not the Miami Heat. Excuse me. It's just I'm thinking about some other teams from the top of my head, but the Lakers is part of that conversation. So Avery Bradley could potentially come back to the Los Angeles Lakers because he knows the system very well, and we could finally see him play in the playoffs because due to the circumstances last season, because of the pandemic and family reasons, he did not participate with the Los Angeles Lakers in the bubble. But, at the end of the day, he did receive a ring, and rightfully so, just because he contributed very well to the Lakers when it came to the regular season. So Avery Bradley could be in the conversation. Jeff Teagues is a possibility as well when it comes to the Lakers pursuing a guard. I think he will fit very well when it comes to him coming off the bench, being a backup behind Dennis Schroeder. He has the ability to bring that scoring that's lacking the bench rotation, and he's just a player that I can really see possibly the Lakers pursuing, but still remains to be seen about the scenario of how things will work out for the Lakers in the buyout market. So Jeff Teagues is a possibility as well, and I'm just going to throw in some couple of players that could be an interest for the Los Angeles Lakers. Austin Rivers is a possibility as well, and if somehow the Lakers don't end up getting Andre Drummond, there is also LaMarcus Aldridge, but personally I don't really think a LaMarcus Aldridge coming to the Los Angeles Lakers would fit because he's more of a power forward type of player, and the thing that we are looking for when it comes to skill set is a center who could potentially protect the rim and grabbing those rebounds, and can the Lakers rely upon when it comes to playing defense. So and LaMarcus Aldridge is more of a guy who's a offensive type of player. He could defend, but his skill set when it comes to protecting the rim is not his best suit. So You know, he could potentially end up with the Lakers, but you know, still remains to be seen about that. The whole idea throughout the rumor mill is that he could potentially join the Miami Heat because they are the front runners, but you know, still remains to be seen about that. He is going to be meeting with the Los Angeles Lakers as part of his list. I believe the Boston Celtics is on that list as well, and the Miami Heat, the Brooklyn Nets, and I believe that's it. And you know, obviously the Los Angeles Lakers. So, so those are my type of scenarios, guys. I mean, the Lakers, as it stands right now, the idea for them in the buyout market is to build their roster and fill in that two last roster spots. And the top priority is to find a center and a 3-and-D type of player, and maybe potentially a center, but it could work either way when it comes to that particular 3-and-D type of player. That's why I mentioned Avery Bradley, who fits all the categories of where the Lakers are looking for when it comes to a 3-and-D type of player and a guard. So that's a possibility. And you know, Austin Rivers and Jeff Teague. So that's a possibility as well. But the number one priority is to find a center because the Lakers are lacking that particular position. And that's why, Andre Drummond is the number one priority for the Lakers to pursue. They just still have to meet with him. So that's still a couple of days to go to see where he'll make his decision of who he wants to join. The Lakers, when it comes to salary-wise, they can't really give him a lot of money for him to come. But, the top teams like the New York Knicks and I believe the Boston Celtics, they have the money. So obviously they can give him a lengthy, not lengthy, but maybe like just, I don't know what he's looking for. Maybe like maybe $10 million to just sign for the rest of the season. I mean, there's just a lot of scenarios maybe the Lakers could do, but personally, I think he would just fit well with the Los Angeles Lakers because of what they have in their arsenal. I mean, what is the priority of what Andre Drummond is looking for. I mean, he wants to start, and he is obviously going to fit well with the Los Angeles Lakers of what they're looking for, and that is to find a player who can protect the rim, which he's good at, can grab rebounds that he is monstrously good at, and can somebody that the Lakers can rely upon. So there's a lot of scenarios that the Lakers could go with when it comes to the buyout market. I really want to know your thoughts and your opinions when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers and their interest in these particular players in the buyout market. Do you guys agree with my analysis? Do you think the Lakers should pursue Andre Drummond as the number one priority and then look at potentially a 3-and-D type of player, or possibly just a guard like a Jeff Teague, Austin Rivers, or Avery Bradley, or if somehow Andre Drummond doesn't work out, do you think they should pursue LaMarcus Aldridge, or maybe if there is a center out there, should they pursue that particular center? I mean, I'm trying to think about some other centers that are in the buyout market, but I can't really think of one on the top of my head. Hassan Whiteside didn't get bought out by the Kings, so that kind of rules out the Lakers' potential possibility on going to a plan B mode when it comes to Andre Drummond. But, it still remains to be seen. We have to see what, Andre Drummond's decision will be when it comes to his next destination for these next couple of days. So just have to look forward to that. And like always, I'll deliver you all everything that goes down when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers and the buyout market situation. When it comes to any sort of news, updates, speculations about the Lakers' interest in particular players, I will deliver you all on this channel and all of my social media sites. I really do appreciate every single one of you for showing me the love and support for my channel. Make sure to like all my social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the links to my social media sites in the description of this video so you guys can check out my social media sites. And of course, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Go Lakers. Take it easy, guys. Stay safe out there.